know it.
With a tears in my eyes.
The cream of the crop.
Acknowledge me.
Episode 361 of Top Rope Nation. I am your host for tonight, Jesse Velasquez, and I am flanked by the babyface himself, Mr. Justin Joint. How are we doing this evening?
Hey, when your favorite baseball team gets back to the World Series for the first time in 15 years, you got to shave your face clean shaven for the first time in like a decade. So that is why I look like this for anybody watching.
Bring him the 28th.
Oh, man. Dude, it is like, you're asking me how I'm doing, and it's funny because, like, I'm doing awesome outside of professional wrestling. It's like everything is incredible right now except for my interest in what's going on in the world of professional wrestling because, like, the one thing that I was never given a choice about was being a Yankees fan. The day I was born, my dad told me, "Hey, bud, Yankees won." The two names that my parents had kind of decided on were either Bucky or Thurman, after Bucky Dent or Thurman Munson. That was like even going to the hospital for the birth. But for whatever reason, when I was actually born, thank God, because I don't know how I would handle being a Bucky or a Thurman. My dad, for some reason, called me Justin. So, bullet dodge there. No offense to all you Thurmans or Buckies out there, of which I'm sure there are countless hordes of.
Bucky Joint.
Yeah, right? Buck Joint. I would have been a porn star.
Hey, I mean, if you had a sibling, which you do, I believe you do have a sibling, you could be Uncle Buck.
That's true. Yeah, I would be Uncle Buck right now. But it's just, it's so cool, man, because, like, I have such fond memories of, especially that mid to late 90s Yankees run where I watched all of those with my dad, and especially like the 98 playoff run. I spent a large portion of that in the hospital because I was kind of on death's door there for a little while. But me and my dad just sit in my hospital room and watch the Yankees postseason run. And it was just so tomorrow, well, who knows when everybody's listening to this, but for game 1 of the World Series, I get to go watch Yankees with my dad and my son. And I almost just started crying saying that. I'm so excited.
That's right. This is going to be the first World Series that your son's been alive for.
Yep, it sure is.
Oh, my heavens. As I have in the corner of my screen here, Vikings going to halftime 14-14, but I did watch Christian Darrisaw being helped to the locker room by two teammates, and it did not look good.
Who are they playing?
They are playing the Los Angeles Rams at pretty close to full strength. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua both decided to come back tonight.
Oh, perfect timing.
For what reason, I have no idea, especially since Cooper Kupp has been rumored to be on the chop block, or on the trade block, that is, for the LA Rams. Andrew says go Yankees as well.
I know Ryan hates it if we, don't get to the wrestling relatively quickly, but, when daddy's away, us two get to do whatever we want to. Are you a Halloween guy?
It's slowly but surely, I would say yes. I wasn't necessarily going to say I was anti, but since my son and his mom, that's his mom's favorite holiday by far. So I think my son's kind of gravitated that way. So I think being and seeing his spirit, especially the last couple of days, and this amazing pumpkin that he painted, it's only 3. I was just like, wow, this is pretty impressive. He probably had some help, but he did a great job. No, I think I'm starting to come back into the Halloween spirit.
Are you not a scary movies guy? Because what I was kind of going to get to was, are there any Halloween or scary movies you like to hit around this time of the year?
So, oh my gosh, 15 speaking of 15 years ago, I dated a girl for a while. Humongous horror movie fan.
I thought you were about to say humongous whore. I was like, yeah, way to go, buddy.
Horror movie fan. And
Okay.
so I went through almost every single one of them, and it started to desensitize me to horror movies when before that I hated them. So I can watch them now. The Shining is the only one I will definitely go back and watch from start to
Oh,
finish.
oh, wow. Okay, interesting. The Shining. Good one. Absolutely a good one. I am currently rewatching Midnight Mass on Netflix, which is not a movie, but a series. It is a real slow burn, but I absolutely love it. This is my third rewatch of it.
Ooh.
It's just such an interesting play on kind of Catholicism mixed with vampire stuff. It's really good, fantastically acted. But other than that, I watched Smile for the first time, which was pretty good. Kind of a It Follows knockoff, which
Okay.
It Follows is amazing. Couldn't recommend that enough. But I used to be a pretty regular, like this time of year, I gotta watch Nightmare Before Christmas, which we probably will when we carve pumpkins with the kids, but really not too much in the regular rotation. But man, I think part of the reason why my wrestling fandom is a little wonky right now is just because all I really want to do is just to watch scary movies. And pro wrestling's kind of taken away from that a little bit.
Well, speaking of the sports theme, and I think we will finally dive into pro wrestling. I mean, again, my favorite team is on right now. They're at halftime. The NBA season, which is your favorite, I believe it's your favorite sport, that just kicked off on Tuesday night.
Yeah, yeah, it did with basically my two favorite teams. Celtics were the first game and they won, and then our team, the second one, Timberwolves, kind
Yeah.
of blew it a little bit, but hopefully they're just getting that crap out of their system. And obviously they just had the big trade, so they're going to have to work on gelling as a team. So I'm not too overly concerned. And my Tottenham Hotspurs had a huge win this past weekend. So like I said, things are fucking pretty awesome right now. It's just goddamn this great sport that we love to talk about and we love to watch and share with all of our listeners. Just for whatever reason, it's just not connecting with me right now. And I don't think the TV is even that bad. It's just not connecting.
No, I'm in agreement with you. NHL obviously just started a couple weeks ago. My Wild are currently undefeated as well, unless they lost tonight to the Lightning. I haven't really kept tabs on that yet. So
What's undefeated right now? How many games?
they are 6 games in.
Oh, so that is okay. That's pretty impressive for NHL, right? Be
Or let me
six
let me
game run.
rephrase that. They're not unbeaten. They are undefeated in regulation. They've
Gotcha.
lost twice in overtime where they get the extra point. So no one's beaten them in regulation. I don't think they've even
Okay.
trailed this season up until maybe tonight.
Hmm.
Yeah, so they're off to a good start. So yep,
Very
sports,
nice.
and then with my son again getting wrapped up into so many different things. Yeah, pro wrestling has been more or less, which we're going to get into right now, taking a small hiatus, hence why it's been a little bit quiet. Speaking of quiet, you don't hear Ryan Drosty's voice. He is wrapped up in conferences, and a happy birthday to his middle child, Lauren.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Lauren.
Yes, turning the wonderful age of 6. You know all about that right now.
Sure do. Just got done with our 6-year-old who he actually just turned 7 2 weeks ago. And as
See?
part of his birthday present, I am taking him to Collision this Saturday, of which not a single fucking match has been announced yet, which, that has never really bothered me before, but now just because of kind of the funk I'm in and especially because like some of the positive strides they're making on their television is talking about, the upcoming events or cities they're going to be at. And it really seems that they're leaning into announcing more matches in advance, but can't get that for the B show, unfortunately. Especially, I think a B show that is not selling very well.
And we're going to get into that as we hit the patron button here
Yes.
right now. All of our wonderful patrons, thank you so much for your support. Classics will be rolling in next Tuesday, we will be recording. I was off a couple of weeks ago thinking that what had it in the bag? Not Halloween. Oh, I was thinking No Mercy 2001 had it in the absolute bag. And then a rally came in, and we are going to be covering the last, I wouldn't necessarily say great Saturday night's main event, because I don't know how great it was. We'll be the judge of it. But it was recorded at the end of October of 1992 and was shown on November the 14th, 1992, also on Fox and not NBC.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, that would have been almost the very end of possibly my favorite run of pro wrestling ever, just because that kind of late 91 to late 92. I had my dad had this satellite where I was getting almost all the pay-per-views for free. It was like I was getting into WCW, which felt like a completely different kind of professional wrestling compared to WWF at the time. Just a fantastic time in professional wrestling for yours truly.
Yes, 1992, which we're going to get into a little bit later. And yes, Shawn Michaels did win the Intercontinental Championship on that show. Spoiler alert, Justin.
I actually like the misspelling in the comments here. I definitely think instead of the British Bulldog, it should have been the British Bulk Dog. That is much better.
It's funny, we were talking about, before we get to current wrestling, I was actually talking with a client who just came back to me. It's been almost a year since he had been. And one of the songs that came on was Sirius by Alan Parsons Project.
Ooh.
Mostly known for the Chicago Bulls. As he went to go get some water, I go, hey, you know what WWF wrestler had this? And he's like, I don't remember. And he's like, nope, wasn't the Ultimate Warrior. He rattled through a few. I said, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Ultimate Warrior. That would have been weird.
Mm-hmm. It was a little odd. And then I just had to give him, I was like, two of the best themes behind two of my favorite wrestlers maybe ever. WrestleMania 3, Ricky Steamboat, Randy Savage, Pomp of Circumstance.
Hell yeah.
So we got into some nostalgic WWF for just a moment. Yeah, I think 92 is gonna be a fun one. And there you go. Look at that. Wild with the shutout tonight in Tampa, 4-zip.
That is wild.
It is wild. I'll get into my venture later with professional wrestling this weekend, because I am also heading to an event, but with somebody also that's close to Top Rope Nation.
Oh.
Yeah, but we'll talk a little. Let's start with AEW. I almost want to start with WWE just to get it out of the way, but we'll start with AEW since you were here for the Wrestle Dream preview show. So I haven't gotten anything at all from you in regards to the Bryan Danielson fallout, how he lost the title, which you saw coming. We kind of did too, but you were the wise one in the group. You had tunnel vision. You're like, this is exactly how it's gonna lay out to an extent. Give me your thoughts on Bryan Danielson's last full-time match for now, and then we can kind of lead into the direction where we're going with AEW.
Well, first off, I would just say that I still think the long-term goal of this angle they're doing is eventually Darby beating Mox for the world title, which I am mostly at peace with. I know you and Ryan aren't too keen on the idea of Darby as world champ, but like I've said before, I don't think it'd be a real long run. It would almost just be like giving Darby his flowers for everything he has given to this company. But as far as Wrestle Dream goes, it worked on me. I think the match was mostly just okay, but with the way it finished and in that moment, I don't actually mean it this way, but just in wrestling terms, I was a little devastated. Like, fuck, this is how Danielson's going out. It's like, even outside of, Mox being someone who I wasn't all that excited about being the world champ or being the one to retire Danielson, just the way that all that played out was really disheartening. But then it's like, 30 minutes later, an hour later, I'm still thinking about it. It's like, that worked on me. Like, I'm fucking pissed. I want retribution for Danielson. And then the more you think about it or you look into it, it's like, this is exactly what Danielson would have wanted. This is how he would have wanted to gone out, to help a story that can play out for months to come. He wants to die on his shield. He doesn't, no offense to the way Sting went out because that fucking ruled, but that's not how Danielson's going to go out. That's not how, he is approached in kind of mastered the art of professional wrestling. So I'm okay with it. The main thing that bothers me is just that it's Mox, who is still doing great work. It's not to take anything away from what he's doing right now. He kills it on every promo. It's believable. There's some gray areas with Yuta going on. Obviously, I love Claudio and Pac. So I think that's kind of just where this purgatory of professional wrestling that I'm in right now is just, I don't hate anything they're doing, but at the same time, it's just not really connecting with me. Like I already said, but yeah, man, I mostly dug it. The entire card was solid. Nothing super grabbed me big time, but there's nothing that they're doing I find offensive. How are you sitting now that we're a couple weeks removed from it?
That whole card, I think top to bottom. I mean, we'll go from the bottom, actually. Its bottom wasn't as low as some of the other bottoms of the last couple of years. It just didn't have the super high note.
Yeah.
I gave it a B plus when I think top to bottom, it was almost as solid of a card that they've done in the last couple of years. Because nothing was awful. Even Mark Briscoe and Chris Jericho, I thought, had a solid match. Yeah, I know we'll get into that part later too. Goodness gracious, he just doesn't want to leave. But and I'm going to get to Andrew's comment here in a moment. Yes, I had a pit in my stomach when Danielson submitted or just passed out.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Just sat there very quiet. But you're right. After some reflection, you think about it, and this is the way he wanted to go out. Now, I think the only problem I have right now, which I told you off air, is my 4 pillars that I created in my head are in secondary feuds, and none of them, except for next week, Swerve will be wrestling next week.
Mm-hmm.
You have MJF, who's going to be not wrestling for about a month. Osprey, I don't think is going to be wrestling for a few weeks. Obviously, sold the Tiger Driver. He's at home. Swerve, which again will be coming back next week. I do want to get into your thoughts on Shelton Benjamin in a moment. And then Hangman Page, who is looking like he's going to be feuding with Jay White. I like both men a lot. I thought that match was awesome. The opener for Wrestle Dream as well. So, but I think for that, none of those 4 guys to be either feuding with each other or in that top flight feud right now, or even standing in line trying to get in Moxley's way, is not sitting well with me. Right now, they're almost pulling the NWO 1996, where they're just beating up all of the mid-carders in the back, and the mid-carders are the ones that are trying to keep AEW from sinking. And this is the whole rationale with Moxley, too, is that he feels that AEW has failed, and I think what's really starting to come to light is those guys that have been there for 4 or 5 years, none of them have really moved the meter. I'm talking like the private parties, because they're wrestling again next week.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Garcia might be here pretty soon, but there's been a handful of people that have. I mean, like Darby, which, let's pop this up right now. And I'm starting to kind of see this. Do you think that they're going to be attempting to a lesser extent, of course, with Darby, what they did with Sting in the NWO?
Gosh, it almost seems like they're doing that more with Orange Cassidy right now. If we're talking about, the whole free agency thing, like what side is he going to fall on? that's kind of the Orange story they're telling right now. But yeah, I would say in general, it's like I'm sure they would love to get anything even close to staying in 1997 with Darby. I don't foresee that happening, but yeah, I think that's the long-term goal of this program. But to your point, when it starts off, when the big hook is, we're supposed to be not Hook the wrestler, but when what we're supposed to be getting invested in is the BCC picking on all these. I mean, for lack of a better term, these mid-carder baby faces who are rarely, if ever, on TV, who lose almost all the time that they wrestle. It's just hard to care. It's like, okay, it's a little. I'm too easily seeing this as the beginning stage of a longer story, but they're going to have to do a whole lot more to get me invested, because really the only thing that I care about with what they're showing me right now, as far as this mock story goes, is I'm most curious about Daniel Garcia and what they're going to do with him, because I would like to see them build this momentum with him, since he just re-signed. I'm a little worried because it feels like the feud with MJF is going to just kind of be left to die out in the cold, because obviously MJF is now feuding with Adam Cole. It doesn't feel like we had a real resolution with MJF and Daniel Garcia. And it could feel like a little bit of a drop off for him to go from MJF to Jack Perry or whatever they have planned.
Probably, I think it's going to be Jack Perry right away, because that's what they teased at Wrestle Dream.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it started, which was really, really odd. As soon as that Perry Shibata match was over, you forgot about it instantly. Garcia comes in, then MJF comes in, and then Adam Cole comes in.
Yep.
And that Adam Cole thing ruffled some feathers with me last night, too. Not Adam Cole himself, but Roderick Strong and the rest of the Undisputed Kingdom. That was bad.
Oh.
Trying to bring that group back. Or like Roderick Strong being the first person that wants his hands at MJF, which I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand it, but at the same time, you broke up the Undisputed Kingdom a few months ago for a reason. Now you're united them back together. It just, it does not sit well with me at all. And the cringy Adam, he did it again last night, by the way. Just not good at all. I'm not high on Adam Cole to begin with. I don't think you are really either.
Yeah, not so much anymore. I don't mind him as a mid-card baby face, but I don't really want him anywhere near the top, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. So I think they're leaning, like you mentioned, Orange Cassidy, Mox at Full Gear. Rematch of last year.
Yes.
Which we're going to have to see what this Orange Cassidy character is going to do here in the next few weeks. It started out a few weeks ago with Jerry Lynn saying, are you going to take this seriously? You need to take this seriously. And now he's watching his friends go down in flames, with Chuck Taylor last night getting stomped in the neck, which, by the way, Claudio's looked like a straight assassin over the last month, and that's been kind of cool.
Yeah, it's been great. Been treated as I think a lot of us who've been fans for him for a long time have wanted to see him treated. Basically, his entire AEW run has been that way.
Him and Pac, yep. So I think that's been great. Wheeler's kind of been the mystery man. He looked a little perplexed last night when Orange was in the ring and Chuck Taylor was in the ring. So there's gonna be more to this Wheeler Yuta story, I think, coming here towards the tail end of 2024.
So you think the destination for the world title at Full Gear is going to be Mox and Orange?
I believe it. Yes,
I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see, because we mentioned Darby and 2.0 Sting. I mean, it's going to be longer term. I was reading today, somebody said, well, I think the goal here would maybe be Darby to win the championship at Revolution. I'm starting to lean. That seems to be the course that they're heading.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds about right to me. Gosh, that seems like a long time for Mox to have that world title. But it also would seem kind of silly for this, quote unquote major feud or story to end, by the end of this year instead of maybe trying to drag it out as long as possible. I think that might be the other part of my problem with it right now is that my interest is low, and just like the because of the story they're telling, where it's like none of the real top baby faces are involved in this top story, but also like all the world champs are heels. They're creating this very dire situation. This like you know, only because I've been rewatching it with the wife. Like Sauron is taking over Middle Earth. Everything looks pretty dire, and who's going to be the Frodo? Um, so yeah, it's just a bit of a bummer to watch right now, especially considering one of the outcomes of a championship match this past week on Dynamite.
Yeah, I think before we tie into that, I'm really trying to rack my brain in terms of like again, I mentioned it. Their high-end baby faces right now are in completely different feuds and not even at the moment a threat to Mox. Let's hit Swerve Strickland because he's coming back next week. I never thought I would say this. I am pleasantly surprised, but also not at the same time, that Shelton Benjamin has looked outstanding in his first 2 matches in AEW.
They're giving him perfect opponents.
Exactly.
To make him look like like a Brock Lesnar beast type of wrestler, where these guys can just bump their asses off for Shelton and make him look like $1 million. And that's not to take anything away from Shelton because he has looked terrific. I just love the fact that like this is kind of obviously just a feud to get to a feud, but why not take like a month or so to build up Shelton so that everything down the road means more? Because obviously I think the long-term goal here is to get to Swerve and Lashley, which could be another Full Gear match.
No, it really could. And I did hear this on another podcast, so I'm not going to take credit for it. They're just talking about how when regular, what we deem as like smaller guys or medium-sized guys in the WWE come over to AEW, they look like giants.
Mm-hmm.
And they build Shelton Benjamin as weighing 263 pounds, which I don't believe.
What?
Yes, 263. I would assume looking at him 225, maybe 230.
Yeah, no, I believe that pretty easily.
Something along those lines, but you said it, and I was going to follow along right after you. Lio Rush, bump machine. Sammy Guevara, bump machine.
Yep.
Just made Shelton look like a monster. He also looks athletic, and yes, he's 49 years old, Andrew, which is pretty nuts to think about right now. And that's why I was kind of anti them coming in, was just because I'm like, do we need to add more veterans to this roster? But as Justin stated earlier, I think about a month or some change ago, as soon as they come in and they kind of fall back into line, there's going to be a place for them on the roster.
Also, for everybody listening, Andrew also mentioned, still think that Shelton Swerve will be the match. I'm assuming he's referring to Full Gear. But man, that would really make, to an earlier comment you made, Andrew, that would really make Full Gear a rematch heavy card, or a card full of matches we've seen before, because we'd be looking at Mox and Orange. The assumption is that we could be getting MJF and Adam Cole, who wrestled multiple times last year. Hangman Switchblade, we already got at Wrestle Dream. To run back Shelton Swerve at Full Gear, especially because they're going to be wrestling on this Fright Night Dynamite show, would be a little surprising to me, especially because I think everybody's kind of waiting for Lashley to show up.
We might get a resemblance of a rematch for the International Championship minus Will Ospreay. I'm thinking it's going to be Takeshita to Ricochet.
Yeah, that sounds right. It's
a possibility. If Will Ospreay, if his character is healthy, because I'm assuming he is, you're getting a rematch with Ospreay and Fletcher from Ospreay's first Dynamite match back in March.
Oh, that's right. They did wrestle. Yeah. What did you think about Fletcher on Dynamite?
Promo ran a little long.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he did well. I like that he shaved his head at the end too.
Yeah. The crowd definitely felt like it went too long too, but I thought he handled that all pretty good. A little worried about his charisma factor, but obviously the dude can go in the ring, and yeah, finally shave those platinum bleached locks. So we'll see where that goes.
Potential's always been there. I guess here's the thing, though, is how does he stand out from all of these other acts in AEW? There's so many of them.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. Like I would almost think that he has to win the first match with Osprey just to really solidify him as, a real guy here. Cause he's been, he's kind of been a jobber to the stars this past year, which is not a bad thing. He's excelled at it, but at some time these guys have got to turn the corner, which, once again, this goes back to maybe why I'm not invested in this main story, is because like I feel like with a lot of these quote unquote homegrown baby faces, they already kind of missed the boat on them. Like if they wanted to make Orange a top guy, if they wanted to make Darby a top guy, if I think there's still a better chance for Garcia just because he hasn't really been in any kind of big time main event feuds, but like specifically Orange and Darby, it's like that feels like something that should have been, the trigger should have been pulled on earlier. These guys have been around for 5 years, been a pretty big deal. So, yeah, I don't know. Might have missed the boat on it a little bit.
For the most part, they have kept Orange Cassidy away from the main event scene. Most part. He has been involved in 2 main events, or no. So he was involved in the main event that we saw, All Out 23 with Mox, and then he was involved in that triple threat world title match with Kenny Omega and Pac at Double or Nothing back in 2020, which was very good, by the way.
Yeah, agree.
So, and he built up a huge run in 22 and early to mid 23, undefeated. So we're saying, why not see what he can do in the world title picture? So maybe this is going to be his chance. I just think it's been a few months, though, since he's been somewhat of a factor. And I'm not just saying that they're rushing into things with him, but to have him be Mox's first challenger, maybe you could hold this off for another couple of months. But then again, what does that leave you with Moxley going forward or at Full Gear? Who would he wrestle?
Agree.
Yeah. And with Darby, I think, like you said, he's had a couple of world title chances already. I think if we really go back in time to his character, he's just said he never really cared for the world title. The TNT Championship was meant to be his. I do remember him saying that a long time ago. But at the same,
he was perfect for that because he's a bump machine for all the monster heels who were having runs with that TNT Championship, and he could just go in and win it in a big upset moment and then just lose it back a couple weeks later. I loved that little series he had with Samoa Joe for the TNT title. That was really good stuff.
Yeah, that was early. That was January 23, February.
That sounds right. Yep.
Somewhere in that range. Oh yeah. So I'm going to deal with it. Darby is world champion. It's going to happen. I think a short run, like you said,
it's inevitable.
These last 5 years, he's been pretty close to the heart and soul of the company. He's been right there with like with Moxley, to be honest.
I mean, like outside of MJF, he might be, I guess the baby face who this company has actually made, who maybe people weren't super aware of before AEW came into existence. Like Darby and MJF might be AEW's, not even might be. They're AEW's greatest creations.
Yes. I throw Orange Cassidy right in that tier below.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Agree 100%. How about would you throw Chris Jericho into that mix too?
I was just going to talk about the elephant in the room here, folks. The Nueve. Chris Jericho won the Ring of Honor World title last night.
At least it wasn't a feud based on the death of Mark Briscoe's brother. Oh wait, that was what that feud was based on, was bringing up Jay's name. So of course Mark had to lose that. I don't know, man. It's fucking stupid. Like, you can't help but see that result and think, I mean, does Ring of Honor have a TV show coming and they just want the biggest name possible? I still find that kind of hard to believe. Like, is Jericho really moving the needle that much anymore? I feel like there's got to be, this roster is huge. There's got to be some better options. That sucked, man. It really, really fucking sucked. Like, I've been down on Jericho for quite a while now. And this one I didn't get. Not only because of where we're at in Jericho's career, but because of the story they told. I just don't understand it. Can you make any sense of it for me?
The only sentence that I can tell you that it made sense is maybe ROH has a TV deal. Because otherwise, no.
You would think we would have heard something by now. Because I mean, the rumors would be Dynamite sticking around, obviously, Collision sticking around. They've got a new show called Shockwave coming. It really seems like Rampage is out the door.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, me personally, I don't need another AEW / Ring of Honor show to watch or try to pay attention to weekly. I kind of just wish they'd give Collision to Ring of Honor. Fucking get Athena on national television. That'd be nice.
Thank you.
I don't know. I'm at a loss. I just don't understand why Chris Jericho is. I don't know, man. I hate it so much.
Briscoe kicked out of this was in the match at Wrestle Dream, kicked out of the Judas Effect and his brother's finisher back to back. That should have been more than enough to say that, yep, Briscoe kicked out of them both, won the match. All right, Jericho, we're done with you. Move on. Get real.
Yeah, I got nothing. Like, I'm just frustrated by it. There's got to be some sort of plan. Maybe this is the jump off for Big Bill to eventually maybe turn on Jericho and get the title. But fuck, man, just like, I don't know. Part of it's just because, like, you think about the lineage of the Ring of Honor title, and for Jericho to be on there not once but twice at the stage of the career he's in. I mean, we're not talking about like, mid 2000s Jericho being a Ring of Honor champion. That would have been fucking pretty cool. But now, in the year 2024, yeah, I don't know. It sucks.
Yeah, it's a crime. It's an absolute crime. Again, we've been saying for a year and a half now, go take a break, be done. Please. I think I was saying it after what was I going to say? I think after Ricky Starks beat him back at Revolution in 2023. Just go away for a little while. I mean, now we almost want you to just go away forever.
It's the Ziggler problem where it's like these guys brag about in Miz. They brag about their not longevity, but just their ability to not get hurt and to be around all the time. So like, well, that actually hurts you, is the fact that you're always around. What you guys actually need is an injury. So you guys go away and we actually get excited about the prospect of you coming back. Like Edge. I could have really not given a shit about him showing up in AEW, but now that he's been gone for a little while and they're kind of in desperate need of some star power, especially on the babyface side, kind of looking forward to Edge coming back.
Yeah, you nailed it. The power of a babyface, a fresh one that hasn't been involved in a little while. Because now you have, gosh, I've been seeing things as well about, I mean, these guys had a match last night. The House of Black actually being involved in doing something in this angle. And I'm like, where is this going to come from? Because Buddy Matthews is challenging Adam Cole next week. He's going to lose.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, man.
Just,
I got nothing.
No. there are a lot of things right now in AEW that don't make any sense. And again, I would say here's another thing that also kind of grinds at my gears is Private Party getting a rematch at the Young Bucks already next week, saying that they're going to split up if they don't win. It's almost a guarantee in my mind that they're going to win. And they have a 6-12 tag record in the last, what would it be? 14 months. You're going to throw the tag team championships on these guys when they've done minimal to nothing?
Yeah.
Since 2020?
They're not ready. They're not ready.
No. I mean, they got ran over by the BCC in the last month leading up to this angle.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. There's just something like it sure seemed like, I don't want anybody to lose their job, but it seemed like a good thing maybe that Jimmy Jacobs left. I'm a little horrified by the reports that, the creative team runs, a dozen to 2 dozen deep. Sure sounds like maybe they should put more on, was it RJ?
Yeah.
On his lap, because it seems like all the best stuff is coming from him. But I don't know. It just seems like sometimes AEW overcorrects and they have nothing to fall back on but old WWE tropes. And that just, with this whole BCC takeover thing, they just told the same fucking story this year with the Young Bucks and Okada and Jack Perry and how they took out Tony Khan, and just like that didn't end up going anywhere. So, maybe just part of all of this is my concern that they can pull off the landing, which is, wait and see.
It really is wait and see. And real quick, we'll tackle the women's division because there isn't much of that going on right now, really, either. I mean, you have Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander likely headed for a showdown for the TBS title at Full Gear. Chris Statlander will be taking on Camille here next week as well on Collision. And then Anna Jay got a win over Mariah May in the Battle of the Belts. That's going to guarantee her a title shot after coming back from Stardom, and she's looked much better.
Yeah, didn't hate that just because they do protect that title eliminator stipulation quite a bit, where the champion still ends up winning. So not really opposed to that. Don't hate it. Chris Statlander, I loved her heel run, and that just disappeared.
Wish they explained this on Rampage. Only 200,000 people are watching that right now.
Exactly.
Stokely gone out of the equation. Just quick little brief, okay, this didn't work out. Thank you for everything. Goodbye. Now Stokely's trying to manage Private Party at the moment. You get that going on. Like I said, I mean, there's just a lot of confusing things in AEW. And there is a baby face right now who unfortunately had a knee injury. I want to say this was April. Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
Dang it. He's still months away from returning.
Boy, that's who they really need right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. And we're going to get into the final piece of the babyface puzzle at the end because it actually came up in the Q&A that we're going to go through here momentarily. So, any other closing thoughts on AEW?
Nah, let's move on.
Yeah, there's a lot. And WWE is going to be brief anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since Bad Blood, there's just been, all it's been is the Bloodline or Roman Reigns trying to reunite the original Bloodline and just try to take over the Ulafala again and take down the Timu Bloodline of Solo Sikoa. Yeah, now Andrew's laughing. Solo Sikoa, the Gorillas of Destiny, and Jacob Fatu. So we're leaning towards that as Survivor Series. I mean, I'm assuming your excitement level is about as high for it as mine is right now.
I was tired of the Bloodline story a year ago, and it's just gonna fucking never end. It's just a snake eating its own tail.
And to further this Bloodline vehicle, which made me even eat my words from a couple weeks ago more, they had Jey Uso win the Intercontinental Championship. I'm like, okay, maybe this will actually be time for him to become a singles performer. Maybe they're just doing it 2 years after the fact.
A fun moment, to their credit.
Oh, it was a very fun moment for him. And now Braun Breaker gets the rematch after the week before they had shaken hands. And then the next week, Braun attacks him after Jay Uso's win over Xavier Woods. And Jay ended up getting into a confrontation with Jimmy, just saying we need to reunite and take down Solo and what's going on there. So what does that mean? Jay and Braun have a rematch. The bloodline, meaning Solo and Jacob Fatu, come down. We get a Braun Jacob Fatu face off. But at the end of the day, with the help of Jacob Fatu, Braun Breaker wins the title back from Jey Uso, and he's just going to be a pawn in Roman's scheme to reunite the bloodline. Nice job, WWE.
Cool.
I don't understand it. I seriously don't. And like I said, now this needs to be the end of Jey Uso's single run. Go back to being the Usos and just pretend this Yeet stuff never happened.
Oh, that's not going away anytime soon. I'm assuming they're selling too much merchandise.
It's very true. And according to Andrew, SmackDown is in Brooklyn tomorrow night, which means the potential return of Paul Heyman.
Fuck that, dude.
Yeah, well, we got that going on as well with the Mr. McMahon documentary.
Yeah.
Crown Jewel,
Ugh.
as we go a little further, is next weekend. The hideous Crown Jewel championships that Triple H brought forth. That's only going to pretty much be exclusive to Saudi Arabia. They're not going to be showing it on WWE TV. And we're getting a Cody Gunther match. Kind of odd there.
When has that ever killed the momentum of one of your world champions?
Let me think
All the
about
time?
this. The Survivor Series. Been doing the champion versus champion bit for the last handful of years. You
have to assume Gunther's winning that, right? Like KO is going to cost Cody or somebody's going to cost Cody that quote unquote championship.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I truly believe Gunther's winning the match. Because we are seeing, yes, Kevin Owens has been hunting down Cody Rhodes. He's now, I think he and Randy Orton got into it as well. So we got that split moving forward. Outside of that, though, I mean, Seth Rollins, Bronson Reed, I know that's going to be taking place at Crown Jewel. Seth's back.
That could be good.
Could be. I'd like to see Bronson get a win.
Yeah. Can't see that happening against the company man, though.
No. Not at all. And then we're getting an unwanted Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax match.
Ugh.
That's what this champion versus champion deal is all about.
I think I'm gonna be busy at that time of the day.
It's early. I have my son, so there's zero chance I'm watching it live.
We have to make sure I have both my sons. I'm gonna have to tell my wife to go have a day to herself during that show. It's like, sorry guys, can't watch it.
Yeah. So those 3 matches have been announced. I'm assuming there's a couple more, and I haven't seen any of those yet. So, no. I mean, again, they're leading towards Bloodline versus Bloodline and Survivor Series. This is the year that they should not have a women's War Games match, and they're going to shoehorn something in there. What it's going to be, I have no idea.
I just don't understand why they can't do their best to just alternate. You know, it's like they have an obvious war, 2-ring steel cage match with the bloodline. So why not just like have the men do it this year, and then you have an entire year to build something with the ladies for next year? So it just even more so than the Royal Rumble matches. This one really bothers me about having 2 double ring steel cage matches on the same show.
There's nothing that warrants it at all.
No. It just waters it down so bad. Hopefully they can do some more blood.
There we go. Charlotte Flair is not in the WWE picture at the moment. Becky Lynch is not in the WWE picture at the moment. It just almost seems like that whole main event scene, like Rhea Ripley's just going to get the belt back. It's just a matter of when. They're delaying the inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side,
Do we
Tiffany
know it?
Stratton.
Sorry. Do we know anything about what's up with Charlotte and Becky right now? Is Becky just out being a mom?
I believe that's the case with her, but Charlotte, I have no clue.
Okay.
I know she's been posting maybe once every eon on Instagram or Twitter, just enjoying life. So I mean, she's in no hurry to get back.
Is she still with the Speed Champion?
I don't know. I thought. See, at first I thought they divorced,
I have no.
and then he
idea.
comes into the company to be reunited with his wife. I have no idea. Yeah, that women's division's in dire straits when you have one of your top performers is part of the tag team champions right now, Bianca Belair with Jade Cargill, and Jade's just doing the same thing she did in AEW.
Yep, an absolute waste of a year of Bianca's talents.
And Jade's been in the company for a year, by the way. Holy cow! And that year flew by. Oh, so dull. All right. Anything else on the WWE? Because there isn't much really there either.
I don't think so. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Nothing's really grabbing me on that side of the wrestling world either.
I have one small gripe, and then we'll move on. I mean, it's very, very small. I remember a month and some change ago how I said when the Wyatt Six debuted, I said, why didn't they feud with the Final Testament to start out? Now they're feuding with them after they have pretty much relegated the Creeds and Chad Gable to jobber status.
That stinks.
Oh, it's so bad. Because now the Creeds just lost in another triple threat tag to move on to the WWE Raw #1 contendership match where the War Raiders have returned. Yeah, no more Viking Raiders. Welcome back to their number 2 names after what they were, War Machine in New Japan and Ring of Honor, with Dragon Lee, Rey Mysterio, and then the New Day, which they're teasing the Xavier Kofi stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's a real dull time right now in the WWE and AEW. And they're just building to Full Gear in a month. And the Survivor Series, we're going to skip Ground Jewel. That's in another 5-6 weeks. It's just a real dull time at the moment to be a pro wrestling fan.
I think I saw somebody ask this question in the Facebook group. If you had to bet money, what are the main events of WrestleMania 41 going to be?
Let's hit on that right now. That was
let's do it.
asked by Ryan Huffman. I think night 2 is going to be a foregone conclusion. I'm going Roman Rock.
That was my thought too.
Will it be for the title is the question.
I fucking hope not.
We all hope not.
But that's also where I kind of ran into my conundrum, because that was definitely my number one thought was, okay, Rock and Roman. And then the other match that popped in my head was Punk and Rollins. But would 2 non-world title matches main event both nights? Not a great look for your world champions if that's the case. And there is zero reason for Rock and Roman to be anywhere near a world championship match for that one. That's just so unnecessary. So there is not a Cody match that I find overly tantalizing at this point either. Not even really on the Gunther side of things. The best I could come up with would maybe like a Gunther Punk could be interesting, but yeah, I don't know what to pick for that second one, or what I would assume to be night 1.
Yeah, are they going to bring that back at Survivor Series? By the way,
what's that?
Gunther Punk.
Oh,
Punk's taking a little bit of time off right now after his match with Drew McIntyre.
yeah,
He's kind of selling the aftermath of it. Ditto for McIntyre.
To avoid going to Saudi Arabia.
Yes. So what about, Can Drew get there? Damian Priest is not main event worthy.
No,
He
not
just
yet.
stepped-
Anyways,
Yeah, he just stepped up. He just stepped up to Gunther on Monday night, just kind of reminding him that he's there and he's going to get his rematch down the road.
I just, my assumption is that they maybe have made some kind of promise to Punk that he'll get a main event, because that was the entire deal with him before, was he just wants to main event WrestleMania. His most logical dance partner is Rollins, but I think that is a match that would need some sort of world championship attached to it, and be a real bummer to see Gunther lose it to one of them, going into WrestleMania season. Cody is actually not a bad idea for taking the title off of him, because I think his run has been pretty lukewarm, especially when you factor in, like, I don't know who he's going to face outside of it, unless that maybe they get KO re-signed and they can just drag that out longer. I saw a lot of people fantasy booking Cody and Randy Orton. That doesn't do shit for me.
I like it as a one-off,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
not in
yeah.
a major event. Well, if it's going to be a major event, maybe the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Yeah. Not opposed to it there. Just does not strike me as a WrestleMania match.
No, not at all. Yeah, Kevin Owens, I know his contract's supposed to be up here another December or January, and there's been some steam that he's going to re-sign with the WWE once again.
Man, that really bums me out.
Me too. Yeah, he's done pretty much all he can do for World Wrestling Entertainment.
Yep.
Unless Hunter has it written in his contract that he's going to get a long run with the undisputed Universal Championship, and I don't really see that being the case. And there isn't that one dominant women's match, because Bianca, like I said, is in a tag match. Like I said it last year. You had all year to Rhea Bianca WrestleMania 41. That's one of your main events. Easy as pie.
Yep.
So,
there's really nothing going on in the women's division right now that is tantalizing.
No. So that night one's a mystery. I really have no idea. But Roman and Rock is definitely going to be night 2.
Works for me.
Exactly. And speaking of Ryan Huffman, I will see you on Saturday. He's going to come to my neck of the woods, about 20 minutes away from my house. There is a Midwest All-Star Wrestling event. It's a independent promotion here in the cities. And we're going to get Mustafa Ali wrestling the Ultimo Dragon.
What? Fuck, that's going to be better than anything we're going to see on Collision. Fuck,
Ultimo Dragon.
I mean, good for you guys. Bad for me.
I'm going to guess he's 51 years old.
Holy smokes. Yeah, that's probably about right.
He's in his early 50s. So we're hoping he's more on the Shelton Benjamin side than the Chris Jericho side. But either way, I know Mustafa Ali's been doing a lot of things in Japan as well as TNA these days.
That'll be good. You guys are in for a treat with that one. Even just for the kind of randomness of getting to see those two live is going to be a lot of fun.
That is going to be awesome. And I know there's a couple of women, I'm trying to think, that aren't signed with AEW, but they've been on programming before. They're going to be on this card as well. And there's a lot of former performers I know that are going to be signing autographs beforehand. I believe Booker T is going to be there, Lita, Scott Steiner. There's a handful of others. I know Ryan's eager to get up there. I'm going to be eating dinner, and I'm meeting him like 20 minutes before the show starts.
That'll be fun. Nothing like a smaller independent wrestling shows. Those are always a good time.
I'm a big fan of those too.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the very next question here. And I'm going to take this to Carlo Longhorn, because he was one of the first ones to respond in our group. Let's hit the button right here. And his question has to do with the Jon Moxley angle. Mox has referred to a higher power at some points in time. He says, who do we think will be the higher power behind him, if there even is one? And as a bit of a fun / best and worst case idea for who could it be realistically?
I'd kind of been getting the feeling that they were moving away from that a little bit, that Mox is just kind of the guy now. Um, Obviously, there was a lot of Shane McMahon rumors, which do not make any sense whatsoever. I have had some horrifying moments where I thought we were going to get like a Tony Khan. It was me the entire time. Um, don't want that. There's just, I don't think there's really a good option out there unless there's somebody who I have just completely forgotten about. What about you?
Worst case scenarios, you brought them both up, Shane McMahon and Tony Khan.
Yeah.
One came to my head kind of just now, and as well as I saw his name being brought up in the questions later. And I know that this guy is going to be wrestling in New Japan in January 2025. What if the higher power was Kenny Omega? He's kind of backhanded at times the AEW roster.
Yeah, that's true.
The Elite is kind of staying away from the BCC right now. They're just kind of looking back.
That's kind of part of the issue, though, is like I feel like with the way Kenny was taken out, it feels like he needs to come back as a big baby face to confront the Young Bucks and Jack Perry. Like that would make very little sense to me for him to come back as some major heel character. That's the big reason that one doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree with you. It was kind of fun in that moment to fantasy book.
It's good enough that it did give me pause. It made me think if that could work. And obviously there's the other part, that Mox and Kenny have had a long rivalry history in AEW. So I don't know. That one just doesn't exactly work, but if they had to have somebody that might be their best option.
Yeah. There's not really that one character that can just come up and out of nowhere and say, it was me, or just kind of be ahead of Mox on the food chain, the hierarchy. Doesn't make any sense.
That's why I've been trying to rack my brain. Is there somebody who's injured that, we've, out of sight, out of mind, or, a Kevin Owens would be a pretty decent option, if they could actually get him to come in. But, I have gotten more the feeling that they have kind of dropped that whole higher power thing. And maybe just the higher power is just more of a figment of their imagination.
Because let's be honest, if William Regal hadn't come in the first time, and his contract was up, he'd be the perfect person.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
But unfortunately, we don't have that person to rescue us.
Maybe it'll be Spanky coming in to replace Brian in the BCC.
Oh no, Brian Kendrick.
He might still be a piece of shit for all I know.
I think with all these uncovered gems that we're starting to get in terms of the piece of shit perspective these days, Justin.
Jesus.
It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever.
Fucking Mark Calloway.
Oh, there's that. All right, I'm gonna get to the one-off question with Rick and the Twin Cities having to be freezing on Thanksgiving weekend. The last couple of Thanksgiving weekends, Rick, it's been in the 40s and 50s here in the Twin Cities. You're more than welcome to come in as opposed to go to Denver. It's completely up to you. Climate change is a thing. You know that. We all know that, I think, now.
Yes.
Look at last winter. My goodness, there wasn't even a winter. Last thing. David Jenkinson asks if we could provide an update on, and I haven't heard a thing, rumors on Kenny Omega. I scoured for about a good 20 minutes after you sent that, and I could not find a single thing.
Yeah,
he's going to be wrestling.
Not sure what he's even alluding to. I mean, they've already announced, him coming back to wrestle. So,
Yep. Him and Hiroshi Tanahashi will be wrestling the Young Bucks at Wrestle Dynasty, January 5th, 2025, day after Wrestle Kingdom.
It's going to be real interesting to see how Kenny looks going forward, considering everything he's been through and the damage he's taken through the years. If he can get even close to the best bout machine.
I don't know. I have my reservations. His
Same.
birthday was just last week too.
Oh, happy birthday, Kenny.
I was just going to dig into this one real quick after mentioning Kenny. I was going to say, because Kota Ibushi signed with AEW, apparently he's out for the next 3 to 4 months too. Oh my goodness.
He really did sign with AEW?
I believe so. Mm-hmm.
Yeesh.
And he's done, as we've seen, next to nothing other than ride on a bicycle during a video games match for $100,000 donated to charity.
Yeah, send him to the same farm as Naito.
All those guys are just looking broken down. It's the style they wrestle. Oh, it's brutal on the body. The G1 Climax scene with Kenny now. So, one final thing, a congratulations, speaking of New Japan. Zack Sabre Jr. is IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Won it at Royal Quest from Tetsuya Naito, speaking of the broken down. So, congratulations. It's about time. Now, the bigger question is, how long do they run with you?
Boy, you got to think it's a long one, because there's just nobody is exciting as him right now. It really feels like they need one of these younger guys to step up and make a big move, but I just don't see that happening anytime soon. So I would let Zach run with it for quite a while until you know for sure you have the next guy.
And that crowd's going to determine who it is too. So you getting Zack Sabre and Shingo Takagi at the next big event in November. That's going to be a really fun match, I'm sure. Zach will likely retain, head into Wrestle Kingdom and main event. I think that's going to be awesome for him. And just, let him roll into Dominion next year at the very latest as their IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
Agree.
And hopefully he stays there. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Because New Japan's just in a whole world of trouble until, like you said, Justin, those young guys figure it out.
Yep.
So, well, we went over an hour. I thought I was going to be quicker. Interesting conversation, all things considered, that, again, wrestling's kind of in a holding pattern here in October.
Certainly what it feels like right now. I part of me had been wondering if it's maybe just us, because I know Ryan's kind of feeling the same way. But I don't know. I see a lot of mixed feelings on Twitter, and obviously there's a lot of other stuff going on in the world right now. I know I'm pretty consumed by this election that's coming up. So maybe once we get past that and the world settles down, God willing, maybe we can enjoy some professional wrestling a little bit easier.
I think we will. Again, we're 12 days away from that being announced. So thankfully, our classics will be taking place next Tuesday. The last Saturday night's main event, real one that is, 1992. Shawn Michaels, British Bulldog, Bret Hart, Papa Shango.
Ooh.
So
interesting.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting time to dig into. 32 years ago this month. Speaking of that, on the way out, patreon.com/Top Rope Nation is the best way to support us. You can subscribe to YouTube here as well. Google, Apple, and Spotify. Give us a 5-star review. We haven't had one of those in a while. Ryan will be back on our next regular flagship. When that is, we don't know, because Classics next week, and next Thursday is Halloween.
Might be a couple weeks.
Again. So I'm going to hit you with a TRN Unplugged. I am going to probably shoot for this coming Sunday. With what I'll hit you with, I have no idea, but I'm gonna uncover something fun and just make that episode fun. And I have a lot of wrestling Twitter fodder from the last, I think, 3 weeks, so I can just make an episode out of that. It's always great. Garrett Cole on the mound tomorrow?
Yep. Dude better be pitching 1, 4, and 7 if necessary.
Oh, baby.
Ain't no reason to save your arm at this point in the year, especially because I think that's definitely an advantage the Dodgers have is their arms, specifically their bullpen. But
Ooh. This is exactly what baseball wanted. Baseball and the television networks. The Blue Bloods meeting for the 11th time in the World Series.
So excited.
Yankees Dodgers. Here we go.
Come on, you Yankees.
Any other closing thoughts?
No, just come on, Yankees. Let's go. Let's go.
Going to be a fun World Series. So when we come back on the airwaves with you, which I don't know when that will be, a lot's going to have changed in that time frame, as we alluded to. So hopefully we are here with much higher spirits, and hopefully there's been some movement in both promotions going forward, and we're getting some clarity. I think is going to be I think that's going to be the word in 2 weeks. Will be clarity.
I like it.
So, Ryan, we miss you. We will see you. Justin, thank you for being the co-host.
Happy to be here, buddy. Thank you for leading the charge.
Always. Thank you, Active Chat, Andrew especially. Always appreciate your takes. That has been episode 361 of Top Rope Nation. Take care, everybody. We will see you in early November.
I love you, Juan Soto.